Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we've got a really complex and deeply personal stack of narratives in front of us. We're going to be looking at four incredible friends, a group we're calling the Deep Dive Women: Savannah, Bernadine, Robin, and Gloria.
It's a fascinating set of sources
hmm
because this is really more than just a story about friendship. It's almost a high-stakes case study in what happens when multiple layered catastrophes hit all at once.
Right. These four women, they met back in college at Boston University, and they've built their lives in Phoenix for over 15 years. But then, as they're approaching midlife, everything just falls apart for all of them at almost the exact same time.
The timing is key. It's this stacked deck of crises.
So our mission today is to go beyond just telling their stories. We want to analyze the mechanics of how people rebuild. Specifically, high-achieving women in their late 40s, early 50s after these massive life-altering setbacks.
Yeah, we're talking about everything. Divorce, sudden widowhood, job loss, huge financial betrayal,
Yeah.
even hidden addiction.
It's about dismantling and then somehow radically rebuilding your identity, your finances, everything.
Precisely. You have to look at it almost like an organizational collapse
Yeah.
and the subsequent pivot. Because these women, they had everything that society tells you is success. The great careers, the beautiful homes, that sense of security. They were, hot shit in their late 30s and early 40s.
And then as they get in your 50, every single pillar holding up their lives just starts to crumble.
It forces the conversation. You have to focus on the disruption, the grief, the financial chaos, the identity crisis, and then the really radical path they eventually take to reclaim themselves.
We're really examining what happens when the foundation you thought was made of concrete just cracks, and you realize you can't just patch it up. You have to start over. It's this total intentional self-reclamation, and it's often driven by just, the urgent need to survive.
And what's fascinating here is how these four very diverse crises, from widowhood to a hidden pill problem, all hit this one central group at the same time. It tests the very strength of their foundation as friends. This collective trauma, it forces a kind of accountability and an urgency that I think suffering alone might not have produced. The key lesson here for you, the listener, is in how they use that shared bond to move from just surviving the disruption to consciously designing their next and hopefully happier chapter.
Okay, so let's unpack this. I think we should start with Savannah. He's the TV producer, 50 years old, living in Phoenix, and her work is all about cultural and social issues.
Right, and her crisis is the end of her 10-year marriage to Isaac. He's a construction business owner, and the source material describes him as being in love with wood.
Which is a very specific description. And her crisis, it wasn't just heartbreak, it was this slow, decade-long erosion of who she was. And it all ends in this profound financial betrayal.
The sources are so important here because they really paint a picture of the initial illusion. Isaac wasn't just a nice guy. He was the classic Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Savannah says he made her feel safe, necessary, beautiful, the best kisser, the best lover she'd ever had. This feeling of being chosen, being secure, that was the foundation she built her life on.
She thought she'd found her Mr. Once and for All.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to maintain that relationship, she had to engage in this immense amount of self-erasure.
Let's talk about that. The self-erasure, the details are they're so telling. She tailored her entire life to his interests. The football games, camping, fishing.
Things she absolutely hated.
Hated. She did it all just to make him happy. And it becomes a performance. She even says that watching the History Channel in this old house together became a stand-in for real intimacy, almost like foreplay.
That's such a crucial detail. Her entire intellectual, high-achieving world was just constantly minimized to fit into his blue-collar reality.
And we can't forget the money, the financial investment she made in him.
Oh, that's a huge piece of it. She paid his tuition for a construction management program when he wanted to change careers. She put her own life on hold. She skipped going to the Olympics in Australia to support his dream.
She gave him everything: financial capital, emotional capital. She was betting on his potential.
And her return on that investment was, a man who became emotionally bankrupt.
What's so interesting is the source of that disconnect. It wasn't just that he was working hard. He became disingenuous. The sources say he literally forgot how to talk to her about anything that wasn't lumber or construction magazines.
Yeah, outdoor projects, dream decks and patios, wood magazine, that was it. The relationship stopped being a partnership and just became a performance of her supporting his interests.
And that emotional bankruptcy is what makes the final betrayal so explosive. It's so specific.
It wasn't just that he cheated. The trigger for the divorce was his porn addiction and, critically for Savannah, the excessive spending on those sites.
Right, money.
She saw exactly where his time, his energy, and their money was actually going. And it was all outside the marriage, it was transactional, and it was totally hidden from her.
Which leads us to that one detail everyone remembers from the source notes. The laptop.
She threw his laptop into the pool.
You threw it in the pool. I mean, can you imagine? This wasn't a quiet, we need to talk conversation. This was a physical, theatrical declaration of war against the secret digital life he'd built.
It's an act of immediate, total destruction. She didn't just smash it, she neutralized it, she drowned it. It's like she had to physically eliminate the digital reality that had stolen his attention and their money.
It's the breaking point, isn't it? It's a decade of suppressed resentment from shrinking herself, just exploding in this one single visceral action.
And that explosion had immediate and really problematic financial aftershocks.
This is where she starts to realize just how deep his mismanagement goes. She had co-signed a loan for his construction business, a big one.
And then she discovers the payments were frequently late, like 30 days or more delinquent. That adds severe friction and risk to her own credit profile. This is no small thing.
So we're shifting from emotional betrayal now to structural risk.
Exactly. This isn't just about late payments anymore. It's about how one spouse's, frankly, refusal to manage his operations. He specifically refused to hire a bookkeeper. Directly exposed Savannah to the risk of Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
Because she co-signed.
Because she co-signed. You become jointly responsible. His financial sloppiness immediately became her problem. A very big, very real problem.
And just when you think it can't get any worse, the final insult comes after the divorce is supposed to be over.
The audacity is just, it's remarkable.
Isaac is facing tax problems, maybe that Chapter 7 bankruptcy, and he asks Savannah to postpone the final decree until July 1st. He's implying he needs her status as his wife to stabilize his business records.
And she does it.
And the moment it is finalized, he calls her. Not to thank her, but to borrow $3,000.
Citing slow business, rising material costs, gas prices, the usual excuses.
What does that tell us about Savannah, though? She actually agrees to mail him the money. She says he caught her off guard.
But there's that subtle pressure there too, right? The source material notes that her own mother confirmed Savannah had married beneath herself with a lumberjack.
So there's this lifetime of expectation, maybe this feeling that she had to be the competent one, the generous one, the one who could still fix his problems even after he ruined hers.
She sends him the money, even as the credit union is calling her about that 30-day plus delinquency on the loan she co-signed. Is just, wow.
It really was a brutal financial wake-up call for her. A reminder that all the compassion in the world which she gave him wasn't enough to protect her financial interests or her identity. Okay, so we've gone from this slow, deliberate erosion of betrayal with Savannah. Let's pivot now to something completely different. Instant cataclysmic tragedy with Gloria Matthews King.
If Savannah's crisis was a slow burn, Gloria's was an instantaneous shock. It really shows you the two poles of catastrophic disruption.
So Gloria, she's a spa overseer, used to own her own salon, and she loses her husband, Marvin, tragically on their anniversary. They were celebrating date night.
The sheer randomness of it is what makes it so horrific.
Yeah.
Marvin was shot by stray bullets. He was just caught in a crossfire aimed at some gangbanger near a nursery. An innocent man in the wrong place at the wrong time. It just instantly shatters her entire world.
Her sense of safety, gone in a second. And the source material, it gives us this incredibly detailed, painful look at her immediate psychological response to the trauma.
She can't process the reality of his death. Her physical reaction is just extreme. Falling, melting, freezing, her teeth chattering. Her mind just frantically grabs onto anything trivial because the central, massive truth is just too big to handle.
Right. She starts fixating on the most mundane, immediate needs.
She's searching for her car keys, insisting she has to drive him home.
She's worried about needing new eggs for the cornbread she was going to make. And the oxtails. She's desperate to make sure they don't miss eating the oxtails she'd prepared for their anniversary dinner.
It's a classic trauma mechanism.
Yeah.
Your mind tries to control these small, solvable problems because the big central problem, death, is completely unsolvable.
She literally tries to wiggle out of her son's arms, saying, "It's our anniversary and he's going to want to eat his oxtails before he goes anywhere."
It's just heartbreaking. It took her friends stepping in to handle everything, the paperwork, the cooking, the cleaning. They just sat with her, held her. The sources say she couldn't get out of bed for weeks.
And the lasting impact. 8 months later, it's still so pervasive. She feels Marvin's presence everywhere, which is common with grief, I suppose.
But she hates the silence at home so much that she leaves both TVs on, one in the family room, one in their bedroom, just for the auditory company. She's trading silence for this constant, low-level noise.
And there's a measurable physical toll, too. Her health is suffering. Her labs show high glucose, a 180, cholesterol at 205, blood pressure a 140 over a 90.
Which is later confirmed as manageable diabetes. So the grief, the stress, it literally manifested as a chronic health issue. There was a literal physical cost to her trauma.
But the universe, as the saying goes, wasn't done stacking the deck against her.
No. She gets hit with this profound secondary family shock right as she's grappling with her own collapse. Her son, Tarek, who is a police officer, discovers his wife, Nikita, has been cheating on him.
With her ex-husband, of all people.
So Tarek is now thrown into his own crisis.
And this layered crisis is so crucial to understanding Gloria's path. Tarek takes custody of his non-biological son, Brass, and files for divorce. He wants to adopt the boy.
Which immediately layers this immense parental stress onto Gloria's already fragile life. Suddenly, she's dealing with the collapse of her son's family and this unexpected caregiving role for her grandkids.
The irony is just striking, isn't it? A police officer who works to maintain order and fight violence on the streets is dealing with betrayal and chaos inside his own home, all while his mother is reeling from random street violence.
It's a systemic breakdown, and it forces Gloria into action. She has to become the matriarchal anchor for her son and grandchildren at the very moment she should be allowed to just completely fall apart. This forces her resilience much sooner than, pure isolated grief might have.
Shifting now from that kind of external tragedy to more of an internal collapse, let's move to Bernadine.
Bernadine. She's a CPA, a former financial worker, and she faces what is, I think, the ultimate loss of control.
Her financial autonomy, which she had so carefully built, first on a divorce settlement, then with her own successful cafe, it's all stripped away by a betrayal that is just mind-boggling.
Bernadine's story is a slow-motion catastrophe that just hits maximum velocity. She discovers her second husband, James, or Jesse, as it turns out, is a bigamist. He's married to another woman, Belinda, and maybe even others.
All of her financial expertise, everything she relied on, was completely useless against that level of calculated deception.
And the layers of his lies are just stunning. He created this elaborate, pity-inducing backstory. He claimed his elderly mother was alive and that his 5 brothers were trifling and in prison.
When the reality was the exact opposite.
The inverse of his fiction. His mother had been dead since 1988. He had 6 brothers, all well-respected, college-educated men in D.C. Jesse was just the black sheep.
And how did she find this all out? The 3-way phone call.
So surreal. A 3-way call with the other wife, Belinda, who had found James's other wallet. And that moment, hearing him talk to this other woman and realizing the phoniness she had ignored for so long, that was the final devastating cognitive shock.
And the financial devastation was immediate. Bernadine had used her first divorce settlement from her ex-husband, John, to quit her corporate job and open her cafe, Sweet Tooth.
And it was a huge success. For 14 years, it was this profitable venture known for its soulful specialties, cobblers, and pies. But James, or Jesse's actions, they depleted her investments. She was forced to live off her capital.
She closed Sweet Tooth just 4 months before this all came to a head, and while the source says the joy was gone after James, there were real economic factors too.
Oh, absolutely. The lease was a substantial $3,800 a month, and customer tastes were shifting, moving away from sugar-heavy desserts. The business just wasn't sustainable anymore in that high-cost location.
So she's left living on fumes. She has maybe 9 or 10 months of reserves left. Her entire financial life is now on a countdown clock.
Which, of course, forces her to try and get a loan to stabilize things, and she's denied.
This is a crucial technical detail for anyone listening. The bank denied her due to a poor debt-to-income ratio, a DTI ratio, and critically low equity in her house. Only 40% equity left in a house she lived in for 25 years.
That DTI failure is the mechanical signature of James's betrayal. It means her monthly debt payments, mortgage, credit cards, maybe lines of credit he opened, were consuming too much of her verifiable income.
And the low equity.
That suggests he may have leveraged the house, maybe a home equity line of credit, without her fully understanding the scale of it. The banker's explicit with her. Pay down some cards, or you risk not walking away with much if you have to sell.
Her entire lifetime of financial competence just completely erased by his actions.
And the psychological response to that level of overwhelming pressure, it was a complete hidden surrender.
The pills.
Bernadine is secretly taking high doses of Xanax, 2.5 milligrams, and Ambien, 5 milligrams. This dependency is so severe it's causing blackouts.
Hmm.
She has no memory of a pivotal late-night conversation she had with her own daughter, Onika.
That represents the ultimate loss of control, doesn't it? She couldn't control her husband, she couldn't control her debt, she couldn't control the racing thoughts keeping her up at night.
Her mind was in constant information overload, and the chemical solution was a literal search for silence and for sleep.
And the problem only comes to light because Taylor, her friend's daughter, finds her stash by accident.
It's only when Bernadine recognizes the severity of the memory loss and the dependency, she later compares it to a chronic illness, that she realizes she needs help.
If we connect this to the bigger picture for our listeners, it's easy to judge the pill use. But when you realize she lost her identity, the cafe, and her entire financial foundation in rapid succession, this is a literal cry for sleep and silence in a world of information overload.
And her later comparison of addiction to a chronic illness rather than a moral failing is the key insight. It means long-term recovery requires ongoing management, not a simple 28-day cure. And that realization shifts the entire trajectory of her rebuilding process.
Okay, let's pivot to Robin Stokes. Her crisis starts as something a lot of people can probably relate to: professional burnout and boredom, which then just explodes into a full-blown identity crisis when she suddenly downsized.
Right. Robin was a VP, a senior underwriter, very successful on paper, but stagnant. She'd been at the same insurance company for 18 years.
She admits she was bored, she'd hit a glass ceiling, the pay was good, but that was about it.
And then the shock comes. It's swift and it's humiliating. She is suddenly canned due to a merger reduction, and she's escorted out by HR and security like she'd done something wrong, with all her personal belongings boxed up for her.
That walk of shame out the door, that's the moment of maximum psychological wound. But she describes the feeling in such an interesting way.
She says she was scared as hell and yet relieved at the same time.
That internal conflict is fascinating, the terror of the unknown, but it's countered by this massive release from the stagnation of a boring, safe, high-paying job. She had been fantasizing about leaving, but this sudden external push forces the issue.
And she handles that immediate psychological wound with an immediate impulsive retail balm.
The shopping spree.
A massive shopping spree. Expensive clothes, snakeskin cowboy boots, which the sources say she doesn't even like, but she bought them because they were expensive, sexy lingerie, and nano players for herself and her daughter, Sparrow.
It's a classic coping mechanism, right? A desperate attempt to buy a new, more exciting identity to replace the one that was just boxed up and escorted out by security.
And with her professional identity gone, she dives headfirst into trying to solve her loneliness. She attacks online dating like it's her new full-time job.
Robin, at 49, becomes addicted. She's checking 6 different sites, constantly looking for validation, for prospects, and we should note her romantic history is already fraught. Her daughter, Sparrow's father, Russell, is an incarcerated drug addict.
So the online dating experience is just a total quagmire, and it culminates in the Dark Angel incident, which is pure humiliation.
She's all set to meet this new date, Dark Angel, and he stands her up.
Then comes the revelation. Dark Angel is actually her ex, Russell, Sparrow's father. He was playing a game called Rough and Ready from jail. He was literally trolling her from behind bars.
And the conversation they have is just brutal. He attacks her social capital. He tells her to stop lying about her age, that she looks 50, not 42.
That age criticism, coming from the father of her child who is currently in prison, that's the final non-recoverable blow.
Yeah.
It's an attack on what little self-worth she has left.
And that humiliation, after months of trying to find validation online, forces this critical self-assessment. She realizes none of this bullshit is worth the price of admission, and she just bows out of online dating completely.
She recognizes it was just another form of stagnation, another form of self-harm.
So the job loss and the dating disaster, instead of destroying her, they force a pivot to purpose. She has a business degree, but she realizes she needs new, marketable skills.
And it's actually through a conversation with Savannah about her television show on teenage pregnancy that Robin has this light bulb moment. She realizes she's interested in teaching. The idea of being active, being useful, of influencing young minds, it appeals to her so much more than crunching numbers in a boring corporate office ever did.
So that's the setup. 4 women, 4 distinct but interconnected crises. Now let's talk about the system that held them all together.
The support network. The cohesion of this system, the deep history these 4 share, from Boston University all the way to Phoenix, is the only reason they survived this stacked catastrophe. Their friendship acts as the ultimate safety net, and, crucially, as a system of forced accountability.
And it's anchored in ritual, isn't it? Specifically, the blockbuster night.
Yes, that's their central enduring space. It's this critical structured format for emotional sharing, for accountability, and always for food.
Right. Bernadine, before her own crisis hit, she was the culinary expert. She was always preparing gourmet desserts and then these increasingly complex full meals. She was using the nights to test out tasting menus.
And that ritual, it forced them into proximity. It made it impossible for any of them to hide the true depths of their suffering for too long.
Beyond the ritual, they had constant check-ins, right? The four-way calls.
hmm Savannah, who's sort of the enthusiast of the group, is always encouraging Robin to try yoga and be more adventurous. Gloria, the peacemaker, she focuses on the softer side, often recalling how Marvin worked to keep her smiling for more than 15 years. She uses that positive nostalgia as a temporary shield.
But the real strength of the group, and what keeps this from just becoming a pity party, is the brutal honesty, the tough love.
Oh, absolutely. They do not let each other wallow in victimhood.
This is where the dialogue and the sources get so critical. Robin tells Savannah that she's just lonely, not actually grieving the end of her marriage to Isaac.
And that's a huge challenge. It forces Savannah to realize she's mourning the idea of marriage, the safety of it, not the man himself who had become boring and disingenuous.
And then Bernadine, the meticulous CPA, tells Savannah that she acted superior toward Isaac, implying that Savannah's own arrogance might have contributed to the emotional distance that let him drift away.
And Savannah fires right back at Robin's impulsive shopping spree, calling it an understatement and telling her to use her time for real self-improvement.
That's a necessary correction, isn't it? The criticism that she's using her severance fund to buy non-returnable luxury items instead of investing in new skills.
That level of honesty, as painful as it might be, is exactly what prevents them from self-destructing in isolation. When Bernadine is struggling with her hidden pill problem and the loan denial, she avoids sharing. She prefers to focus on comforting Gloria.
A classic coping mechanism. Focus on other people's problems instead of your own debt and addiction.
But her friend's sharp observations about her sudden weight gain, her history of a heart attack, they forced Bernadine to start listening. They saw the physical manifestations of her internal chaos, even when she was trying so hard to hide the chemical chaos.
And beyond the core four, we see these crises trigger new dynamics within their families, often leading to these unexpected pockets of strength and maturity.
Let's start with Sparrow, Robin's daughter, and her incarcerated father, Russell.
Sparrow is 16, but she shows this remarkable emotional agency. She's the one who initiates contact with Russell. She argues that she deserves to know him because, as she says, his blood flows through my veins, Mom.
And Robin is justifiably hesitant, given Russell's history. But Sparrow is determined.
And that outreach actually pays off in this bizarre, unexpected way. Sparrow throws a party that gets wildly out of control. 60 kids show up, drinking. She's in over her head.
So in a panic, she calls Russell, in jail.
Right.
And he proves to be incredibly helpful. He intervenes from behind bars, using his influence and reputation to get the kids to clean up, locking the door, and threatening to call the police on them.
It's this surreal moment of effective, if indirect, parenting from the unlikeliest source imaginable.
It proves that Sparrow's decision, while risky, wasn't entirely without merit. In a crisis, she needed help, and she leveraged the unique resources she had.
We also see this beautiful moment of grace from Bernadine, right in the middle of her own chaos, with her daughter Onika's coming out.
Onika brings her girlfriend Shai home. And despite the massive financial and addiction crisis she's facing, Bernadine reacts with what Onika calls a very cool attitude.
She validates the relationship completely. She tells them, I think it's healthy when you acknowledge who you like.
That simple, positive affirmation. It relieves Onika of this huge source of stress. It's a powerful testament to Bernadine's core maternal strength. She manages to rise above her own personal hell, to prioritize her daughter's happiness.
And then there's Savannah's ongoing family drama, her sister Sheila and her nephew Jaquan, or Gogo.
Yeah, Sheila's constantly trying to manipulate Savannah for money.
So Gogo, who's described as a pothead with social issues, was supposed to visit for the summer. A visit Sheila booked with a $400 non-refundable ticket without even confirming with Savannah first.
The visit gets canceled because Gogo is jailed. The charges are later dropped on a technicality, a Miranda rights violation, but the crisis isn't over.
Sheila immediately calls Savannah and asks her to post $10,000 for bail, out of a $100,000 total bail.
And Savannah just feels completely taken advantage of. Sheila not only pushes her boundaries, but also casually confirms what Savannah already suspected. Their mother agrees that Savannah married beneath herself with a lumberjack.
This family tension, it really highlights Savannah's long-standing role as the financially stable one who is constantly expected to bail everyone out, a role Isaac's bankruptcy was threatening to erase.
And yet, despite her resentment, she Federal expresses the certified check for the bail. It just cements her role as the reluctant family ATM. It underscores that while the friendships are supportive, these family relationships often remain complex, hierarchical, and, well, transactional.
Okay, so this is the critical pivot in the story. This is the section where rebuilding shifts from just surviving to actively, radically reinventing the self.
Yes, each woman finally takes these decisive, often really uncomfortable steps toward true personal happiness and self-mastery.
And Bernadine, confronting her hidden dependency, takes the biggest first step. She commits to 28 days of rehab for her Xanax and Ambien use.
This is monumental for her, and it's her first ex-husband, John, who drives her there, which establishes that even past relationships can contribute to your future recovery.
The rehab forces her to realize that detox isn't enough. She needs a long-term strategy, leading to that key insight we mentioned, that addiction has to be managed like a chronic illness.
And this commitment is what triggers a deep, long overdue reconciliation with John. He admits that he broke her heart first. He takes responsibility for the invisible bruises that James Jesse later exploited.
That admission allows Bernadine to stop carrying all the guilt, and he proves his redemption financially. He pays off her second mortgage and covers the Sweet Tooth lease for 4 years.
This isn't just transactional relief. It is a complete restoration of her financial foundation. He gives her a clean slate, free from the crushing debt-to-income ratio that had trapped her.
And with that fresh start, Bernadine pivots her expertise. She enrolls in a 1-year program at the Culinary Institute.
She realizes her biggest fantasy is running a restaurant with a changing tasting menu. And this is key. After losing all control to a bigamist, the precision and control inherent in running a refined tasting menu, it appeals directly to her CPA training and her desire for structure.
She also starts yoga and meditation. She learns how to simply breathe again, replacing chemical calm with internal discipline.
Robin's story has an equally dramatic reversal of fortune. Fresh off her job loss and the dating disaster, she literally runs into Michael. He was a kind, handsome rebound guy she dated a decade earlier.
And now he's a successful CPA, divorced, and immediately interested in the mature, self-aware woman Robin has become.
Their reconnection is rapid and decisive because, as Robin notes, at their age, it doesn't take a long courtship to know if your key fits.
They're operating on a completely different set of metrics than the rough-and-ready games of her online dating phase. They value integrity, stability, shared values.
Michael takes her to Napa Valley, and by an infinity pool, he proposes. And she accepts. This is a crucial moment of choice for her. She secures a future where, as she says, she will never have to apologize for what she is not.
She chose a partner based on integrity, not status or superficial excitement.
And that romantic stability allows her to fully commit to her career pivot. She uses her severance as a bridge fund and decides to go back to school for her teaching credentials. She rejects the immense pressure to just find another high-paying corporate job immediately.
She realized the joy of teaching, a passion that was ignited by Savannah's television work, was more valuable to her than the safe, boring VP title.
And Savannah, despite all her ongoing financial headaches, she chooses self-orchestration. She focuses entirely on reclaiming herself.
Her doctor's diagnosis of non-insulin-dependent diabetes acts as that final wake-up call. It forces her to focus on diet-avoiding white foods and rigorous exercise. She realizes she needs to feel better than she looks.
But her most powerful, most symbolic act is the solo trip to Paris.
She didn't go to run away, she went to run back to herself. She abandons the disappointing, cramped flat her boss arranged and checks into a luxurious hotel near the Seine. She walks, she reads, she flirts. She consciously feels her own power returning.
And she makes a firm commitment to a proactive approach to dating. She decides she will start asking men out, taking control of her romantic destiny.
She also embraces tangible self-sufficiency. Realizing the humiliation of relying on Isaac or a handyman, she enrolls in a continuing education class called Household Survival.
The intellectual, high-achieving TV producer decides that physical, practical competence is now central to her identity. She's fed up with paying for simple repairs like a leaking faucet.
And her blind date with Jasper, arranged by her boss, Thora, is a perfect test of her new, honest approach. They skip the typical small talk. They go straight for deep questions like, what does happiness mean to you?
In a moment of radical honesty, Savannah admits the truth about her divorce to him. She says Isaac bored me to death and was a porn addict.
And Jasper, who also divorced because he realized he was boring, finds this level of honesty refreshing. Essential, even.
Savannah finds him charming and interesting. It suggests a potential budding friendship, indicating a new, healthier approach to connection that's built on shared truth, not the performance she maintained with Isaac.
Finally, Gloria. She finds her own path to financial and emotional renewal amidst her profound grief.
Gloria partners with a man named Joseph to open a new hair salon called Oasis. She's re-engaging her entrepreneurial roots. And critically, she leverages the substantial $300,000 insurance payout from Marvin's death.
She uses it not for luxury, but for securing her matriarchal line and her future.
She gives half of it, $150,000, to her son, Tarek. This significant capital allows him to finish his master's in criminology and fully support his children, including successfully initiating the adoption of his non-biological son, Brass.
This move confirms her enduring role as the family anchor. She's using capital for protection and long-term education, not self-indulgence.
And on a personal level, this financial security allows her to focus on healing. After 8 long months, Gloria finally removes her wedding ring. A definitive step forward. She starts sleeping in her own bed again, conquering the silence.
She manages her health crisis, too. She joins Weight Watchers, starts walking, gets her blood pressure almost where it should be.
And she is rewarded with this profound moment of pure hope. Her granddaughter, Blaze, says her first word, Dada.
Wow. It's a moment that it links the past, the tragedy, and the future into a single, profound sense of continuation and renewal.
So when you look back, we've tracked 4 profound transformations, all driven by this simultaneous need for reinvention. Bernadine, clean and headed to culinary school, pursuing control through precision.
Robin, engaged in pursuing her dream of teaching, choosing purpose over paycheck.
Savannah, traveling the world, mastering home repair, and dating with clear, honest boundaries.
And Gloria, managing her health, running a thriving salon, and providing that long-term security for her family.
It's an extraordinary collective narrative of resilience. It proves that rock bottom isn't a dead end.
It's the foundation for the next skyscraper of your life. The key was the willingness of each woman to shed that old, defunct identity, the one tied to Isaac, or James Jesse, or the insurance company, or just being Marvin's wife, and to embrace the vulnerability of starting over.
This raises an important question for all of us, really. It shows that hitting rock bottom can be the ultimate opportunity for reinvention, but only if you have a strong accountability network. They found their happy place not by trying to return to their previous lives, but by creating entirely new ones tailored to their individual rediscovered desires.
And the friendship endures. It's stronger than ever. Their blockbuster nights now feature authorized DVDs, and they're already planning future exotic trips to Tahiti, Rio, Venice.
Trips that will require flying, which is a significant symbolic win given Savannah's former cruise phobias and Isaac's useless phobia class recommendation. They're choosing high adventure and intentional risk over their former comfort.
They finally understood the most transformative lesson, I think. It came from the need to surrender to joy and recognize that, as Savannah learned from the erosion of her marriage, everything doesn't always have to serve a purpose.
So if these 4 high-achieving women could move past financial, emotional, and physical catastrophe to pursue deep personal happiness and new, radical skills, whether it's culinary arts, teaching, or household survival, what long-deferred personal project or radical shift should you, the listener, give yourself permission to start today?